Thank you. And we'll have get Amina say bye. Nope, she doesn't want to say bye. She's just
Uh,
looking at me going, "What are you doing?" No, Amina, here.
no corgi. Oh,
Here we go. Here we
you
go.
got a corgi?
No, no, no.
Beautiful. I love it. Great way to say goodbye. Awesome. Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watcher Pass. Today I'm talking to Gordon S. Foxwood, the writer and director of Wild Eye and Wicked, which is coming to digital and on demand on June 11, 2024. I'm going to talk to him right now. And while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. I'll spend a lot. Thank you. Thanks so much for joining me. Today I've got Gordon Shoemaker Foxwood, the writer and director of Wild Eye and Wicked, which is releasing on digital and on demand on June 11, 2024. It is this interesting like blend of different genres. It's got part like fairy tale fantasy, part horror, part family drama that all merged together into this like wonderful and fresh film. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed it. So I'm very excited to talk to you, and thanks so much for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course, first question. Are you on the farm? Is this your farm
Yeah.
right there?
Yep. That's where the we're on the by the on the south part of the farm by the woods.
That is awesome. Yeah, I talked to Stefanie where she mentioned that the film was actually filmed on your family farm. Like that is amazing. That's a great way for an indie filmmaker to like save on fees and make sure
Play.
that so
One.
so you wrote this film. What was the inspiration for this? Like, where did this come from in your head? Because I'm just very curious. Like, family trauma, like horror from growing up on the farm. Like, where did this come from?
No, you come lots of places. I mean, first and foremost, we have so many things that inspire. We're still clearly so fascinated by dark fantasy, medieval fantasy. They're still huge parts of our cultural interest. And I was like, well, what happens if those very same icons and, blood and steel and all that is actually in a modern day story? What would that be like? How might that be interesting for our characters and their relationships and traumas? That's one place it came from, other sources too. The fascination I've had for a long time with my wife's work, as she's a medical doctor and has been in a few different fields. That she, her whole philosophy is treating the whole patient, which means again building mental paths to recovery and so on and so forth. It's in orthopedics, etc. So yeah.
That is awesome. And I love like, the idea of bringing these like old ideas to modern life, which you can see in the poster, which I had no idea what to expect when I saw the poster. It's like this person in a suit of armor. Then Michael mentioned that she also has like a smartwatch on. You're like, I don't know what this movie's gonna be like, but I'm intrigued. And it definitely kind of like all comes clear.
Cool. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I was curious, Lily in the movie was a fencing instructor. Like, how did you come up with that? Was that just like the most kind of medieval kind of job you could think a modern person would have, or is there
Yeah.
something extra there?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a yeah, and yet there's actually some people in this production, not me, but that had been fencers, including our editor, who's also, fun fact, the fencing partner that's being taught. And that was actually that wasn't supposed to quite happen that way, but Will Ford Conway stepped in to be that fencing character and also edited the film. And again, so in a tiny cast, it's you also have your editor in it, and he's great because he edited or he acted in lots of our movies in film school too, so I knew he'd be great. But yeah, that was the first day of shooting, was the fencing scenes, and we had another lovely actor lined up, but he got pink eye, and so it's like right before the shoot. That's like the one thing that you can't bring to your first day of filming. But anyway, it's too bad.
Oh yeah, for sure. I do love that too, because then like your editor got to like pad his stats as well. Got another IMDb reference, so it
Oh
works
yeah,
out for
yeah,
everyone.
exactly. Yeah.
And I love the fencing instructor thing. It reminded me of like those HGTV shows where you're like, how does a fencing instructor afford a place in the city? But hey, you know what? It just works out, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, she just has like a little apartamento out in the countryside. Yeah.
So I was curious, like the cast is fantastic. I love all of them. How did you kind of get them on board? Was there one person that came on first once you were finished with the script? How did you kind of get them all involved?
Yeah, well, so casting Lily was first because the casting of Lily was just open to like whoever the best person we could find for the job was, or best is not quite the right word. Whoever was the person that came to it already like the most invested in exploring and kind of in touch with the character, because on something that's 16 days, you knew you were gonna have to have an actor that was going to be able to nail things in 1 to 3 takes, because some things would only have the time for a oneer. And so, we had to cast Lily first because that would then affect, depending on, the race of that actress, that was going to affect then, the race of the parents, etc. So we really needed to know our Lily first. And she has to, whoever was going to be Lily has to carry a lot of this film on her shoulders because that's the majority of the film that she's on screen. And Molly Kunz knocked that out of the park.
That is awesome. So then once you have Molly, then you got the other people kind of surrounding her as well. And that makes
Yep.
perfect sense, right? You want to make sure that they also have chemistry because a lot of this, like you said, is carried on Molly, but there's also a lot of interactions between like Molly and Michael that are really important as well. And kind of like if you don't buy those, you don't really buy into the whole
Yeah.
story.
It's interesting, you hear the term chemistry a lot, especially when you're dealing with like romance. But in this case, I was never like worried about whether the actors have chemistry in so many ways. It was actually never something I worried about because I knew I believed that just in the audition process and the Zoom interview auditions that they were all so invested in their character that they are they're already interacting with their idea of who they're this person across from them is. And I feel as if something would have to go pretty wrong for them to get on set and then be like, "Ugh," but they had great chemistry. So yeah.
And how did Colleen Camp get involved in this? She was it was a fun surprise to have her in there. So how,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
did how did she get involved in this?
So yeah, no, we showed Colleen her scenes, and she's done a lot of amazing things, and we thought it'd be really cool to have her in that small role of the therapist. So our producer Powell reached out to her, and we set up a day with her where we shot all of her scenes, and yeah, that was it was a fun and honor to work with Colleen, especially as someone that, of course, I like most filmmakers, you grow up seeing, Apocalypse Now, and it's, she's been doing stuff since then. So she's a really cool person.
That was awesome. And I was curious, like, her stuff was all over essentially Zoom. Like, did you film
Yeah.
her completely remote as well, or was she like in another room
No,
on the
no.
farm?
We filmed with her. But yeah, we had Powell was there with her in Los Angeles, and I was still in post on the farm, or I was on the farm, then remote with our post person also in Los Angeles, triangulation, but it all worked.
And one thing that was very important in this movie is the props, especially like the armor. Like, where did that all come from? Are you a collector? Did you just find someone that happened to have medieval
Yeah,
armor lying around?
you can buy it online. As you think about, there's such a huge culture of cosplay and of Renaissance fair, and so it's like there's a lot of people that make armor online, lots. And so yeah, it's gonna be. There's funny um, yeah, I mean it's just kind of like just putting it all together and talking to people like, hey, I'm about to buy a lot of your stuff, and it's for a movie, and but yeah, it's just all online.
That's amazing. So do you now do you have a set of armor that you can
Yeah, yeah.
bring to screenings and
Yep, yep. We actually did. My wife, who whenever the faceplate of the armor is down, it's my wife doing the fighting and the riding. And she, when we were had our premiere at Austin Film Festival, she wore some of the armor and was like handing out flyers in it, and yeah, so that was she's a good sport.
Yeah, no, she definitely was invested. I hope Austin Film Festival wasn't in the summer because I can't imagine being in a suit of armor in
No,
Austin, Texas.
it was in October, but fortunately, again, most stuff is inside, so it wasn't too bad.
Exactly. That must have been fun going through airport security with that. They're like, "What is this for?" You're like, "Ah,
Yet again, people they're so used to all the cons that are all over the US. So it's not, people like, they're used to people in like anime armor too, like, big spikes and stuff. So it wasn't too much of a problem. Yeah.
Exactly. So one thing I loved about this film is just the cinematography, the way that like the woods kind of like took on their own form of a character almost. Like there were some scenes where Molly would be out in the woods and it was like lovely and like picturesque and fairy tale like, and then like same place at night it was dark and foreboding. Like how who did that amazing work to get these emotions to flow?
As in for how did we change the locations up so much or
Yeah, or just like was that all like you kind of filming in the right locations, or did you have someone else like help you kind of like arrange these to make sure that the shots were perfect for that kind of situation?
Oh, I mean, no, it's like because because it's a farm that, my family lives and works on. I did tons and tons of location scouting and lots of, ahead of time just with my phone and an app called Quadrage, just, framing things up. Um, Yeah, so yeah, there was a lot of that preparation that went into it. And again, during pre-production, when I had the producers living with me on the farm for like 6 weeks or something, 4, 6 weeks. And that's when we also would go around and think about like, how do we light all of this? Because, we're out in the middle of the woods, not anywhere close to power, things like that. And we had a small but very mighty lighting team. And yeah, so people had actually worked for at different times. And our light team's like 2 guys, sometimes a third. But again, they can light, $1 million music videos and then they can light, our tiny little movie. And it's, that's really the wheat from the, I shouldn't say wheat from the chaff, but
Well, you're on a farm,
make
so
it look
yeah,
like
you
you're
can
more
you can use it.
made. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What makes you look like you were made for a lot more than you were when you can light it so well.
Yeah, for sure. Now that's one thing that kind of like hit me is this film, you can tell it's a small project, but it looks fantastic. Like it looks
Yeah.
like any other movie out there that and I love especially the night scene, just seeing kind of like how clear it was and how clean it was and how just like it changed the entire tenor of what was going on.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I also love the music too. Like the music kind of worked with
Yeah.
the lighting too. Like sometimes it would be dreamlike, and then when it needed to be, it would be much more sinister and foreboding. Even kind of in the same scene, like that opening scene starts, and you're like, oh, this will be sweet. It's like a little girl, and then it like becomes very not sweet. So, who did the music for this film?
His name's Kyle Nedak. He's a wonderful guy. I knew him back as I went to college in Los Angeles. I knew him around that time, and yeah, very, uh, very. He has a lot of range and power as a composer, which I knew was going to be needed in this because um, we have a unique score in the sense that we sometimes might be more traditional, horror soundscape and moving music for drama, but there's also electronic elements and particularly electronic dance elements, as that's part of Lily's character and part of kind of how she trains, etc. So finding someone that can do both of those is unusual, and he did it extremely well. So yeah, Kyle is a big part of that.
Yeah, that is quite a lift for one person. That's awesome that you knew someone that could do that.
Yeah, he was. And it's funny. It's like, so much of this can be collaboration, but then, I'm working with all these different people, and then just me and the composer on Zoom, just Kyle in his room, like, all right, just making stuff.
That's
Yeah,
that's
funny.
that's just modern movie making right there. I love
Yeah, yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
So I asked Stephanie if anything strange happened on set, and she didn't know of anything, but she did say that there were maybe some stories about your farm, about maybe some ghosts on there. Could you care
Well,
to share any of them?
God, how much time do you have? Yeah, I mean,
As much time as you have.
yeah, I mean, I've had experiences that are auditory, um, and I have other family members that have spoken of visuals. My father has spoken of visuals. Um, but no, I've had auditory experiences. One actually right over in front of me because the old house is on the other side of this. Could probably show you, maybe. So right
Oh wow.
there so this window I'm about to tell a story about. So I was the first time we threw a party on the farm called Welcome Spring, which was in March of 2022 is the first time we did it. We would usually have these just as in the family, these little like welcome spring parties in March, just because my ma loves to, have, spring parties because she's a gardener and that's what she loves. And it's a sort of a nod to her optimism because she's always declaring it's spring so early. But anyway, but they often happen on the second Saturday in March, which is often right along when there is um, the clocks change. And it was interesting. I was like right after the party, I was falling asleep on the couch in that old part of the house, and I heard, like a tapping, like, and I figured, oh, it's one of my friends who's deciding to come freak me out after everybody's left, and then I'm just like, so I'm just like, I'm just gonna keep my eyes closed so that they just go home and let me sleep off all this alcohol I just drank, kind of thing. And this keeps tapping, and finally I'm like, all right. And I open my eyes, no one's at the window, and I walk over to it, and it's just, pure white snow out there because there'd been snow that day, and just nothing,
Oh
no
wow.
footprints, nothing. And I was like, okay, well, that's a little weird. And you just feel it because I was kind of in that lost hour when the clocks change in the night. And so then I decided to go because there's I think it showed you. So then can't really get it because of the light, but the cottage right there is where I live with my wife. And so I went back over there and and she hadn't left not long ago. And I go over there and she was expecting me back any moment. And I go up to um the door and it was locked. And I was like, I kind of knock on the door. I'm like, that's unusual. I mean, at this hour, she's just expecting me to kind of, rest for a little bit and then come back over. Um, and then she opens the door and she's all like, all scared. And she's like, I had to lock the door. And I was like, what's up? And so then she was like, well, Mina, who's our corgi. Where's Mina? There's Mina. I can't even point. Now she's under the table. Anyway, and Mina, like when she was walking Mina from the old house to the little cottage, Mina was just barking out at the snow. And Elizabeth said she was like hearing perfect sounds like snow, like that kind of leathery sound of someone stepping on snow, like, crunching. And she was like, oh my God, somebody's out there. And she just, freaked and, locked the door.
Oh
and
my
uh
gosh.
and so, I come back over and she's like, did you hear that? And I was like, no, but I was going to tell you about my crazy experience. And so then coming back to, where is it? Coming back to that window, I then told my pa about the experience the next day. And he's like, oh, that's the old pay window. That's where when, the people that, worked around the place where they'd come to that window to be paid, back when it was a much larger operation. And I was like, that's freaky. Didn't know that. And you can even see inside there's a little old pull out drawer. And again, that house I keep pointing at, it's pre-America. And it's like 1740. And so then again, there's this strange, I can't explain it. It's a strange auditory experience. I've never seen anything, but that's what I heard.
That is crazy because normally, yeah, you'd say like, oh, it's just some knocking. It must have been an animal or the wind. But then the fact that there was, something relevant to back up that as well is extra freaky. That is crazy. And that snow is perfect. Like you didn't see any footprints, anything else. That is a weird experience. I love it.
And again, I check too, and it's always that during when the clocks change in this strange lost hour.
I hope you like make sure to take some like NyQuil when the clocks change and just sleep through that hour. Maybe you like it. Maybe it's fun to have these experiences.
That would be yeah, they're always very interesting. But
Yeah.
there's things that happen just in the twilight of knowing, the twilight of perception. Yeah, very interesting. So there's my story. There's others, but mine and my wife's stories are auditory. I would need to get my pop over here for the visual ones.
Yeah. And those all sound very kind of at least benign, not like the incidents that happened in your movie. So hopefully the ghost in your movie didn't bleed over into your farm. It's still kind of
Mm.
like nice benign incidents.
But not well, unless someone's being like, you gotta pay, and I'll
Right.
pay one day. Hopefully not. Who knows?
Exactly. Exactly. Hopefully,
Probably just
hopefully it doesn't get to that.
strange little quantum hiccups, and you know.
There you go. So in the movie, you had one of the things that had to happen was the person had to use something that they loved to hurt
Yeah.
the demon. If you had to fight a demon and you had to use something you loved, what would it be?
Oh wow. I mean, probably, the easiest answer, of course, things from, my wife, things from my dog Mina. Um, but maybe I'd cloak myself in this great long green coat I have that I was married in, because it was kind of a cool story. It's a long green, jacket. Um, and there's a amazing tailor named Gabriel D'Annunzio, who, my wedding was postponed because of COVID, and late in that process, he was making, I knew I needed someone really special to make this long coat, because people usually don't make long coats as custom tailoring. But Gabe was, he loved it. And I was told about this guy. I went in to see him, and, he was, he might've been in his, 70s, but I just had the energy of, a 20-year-old, and was just so excited to be doing something different, not just another suit jacket. Um, and so, he loved it and was all passionate about it. And then I remember we were emailing a lot, because again, we were still like being COVID careful. So there was a lot of emailing back and forth with things. And then one day I suddenly wasn't hearing back from him. And I finally called a few weeks later and learned that he had died of COVID. And so now, and my jacket was kind of on its way to being complete. And so his sort of assistant and apprentice finished it. but this was I'm wearing the last thing he made, and this is a guy that yeah, up on the walls are pictures of him as like a young man, fitting jackets to for like Frank Sinatra. And there's he did the jackets for the coach of the Villanova basketball team. He had like a thank you note from like Obama on his wall. So the first thing I remember seeing all that was coming as being, how expensive is it going to be? I was like, wait, what? Because he's just in this like little shop in Newtown Square. You weren't expecting, like, whoa. But no, he was great. And, was just so happy to have something unusual and different. And so that would be, it's a garment made with a lot of love and purpose behind it. And in so many ways is easily one of the most meaningful things I own, because it's his last work, a jacket that I'd always kind of had the design for and wanted to do. And it's the jacket I was married in. So anyway, yeah, I'd cloak myself in that.
No, that is awesome. Hopefully over a suit of armor, because as much as I love as a protection, I don't know if that would protect against claws, but it would definitely be powerful.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I'll even though my wife could really wear it because it's fit her, but yeah.
Yeah. And the last question is, are you wild-eyed or wicked or both?
Or was in
You personally. You,
oh
Gordon.
God, I hope I'm a little bit of both. No, no, the title that I'd always wanted to make a movie with that title. Fun fact, because there's actually a show horse that had that name that I remember seeing when I was a kid. And I was like, and it was just this like really bold, badass horse. And I was like, it's a cool name for a movie. And it works perfectly for a demon. So yeah.
No, that is it definitely catches your attention. It like sinks its claws into you and like holds your attention as soon as you hear that title. So I love it.
Right. Hell yeah.
So the film is being released on June 11th, 2024 on digital and on demand. You are out getting the word out, letting people know about the film. But after people see Wild and Wicked, and they should, it's a fantastic movie. I loved it. What can they look for next from you? Do you have any other projects on the horizon? Any other farm, forest related films coming soon?
Farm, forest related films. Well, yeah, you want more farm and forest, you can look at my short films because I have a few of those. But yes, I've been writing a lot again since we shot this. I've written 3 screenplays, and then I'm writing a epic fantasy novel where no one can tell me that I can't do that because of the budget. So, I can go be myself 100 billion% all out. So that's always fun too. So yeah,
that sounds fantastic. I'm excited to see those because just how different and fresh this movie was. I'm excited to see Gordon going all out in another movie as well. So I can't wait to check out those. But before while you wait for those, check out Wild and Wicked, coming to digital on demand on June 11th, 2024. It's a fantastic film. It's just a very kind of like fresh blending of different genres that is fairly unique and also just really emotional and fun. This is the writer and director, Gordon Shoemaker Foxwood. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And we'll have get Amina say bye. Nope, she doesn't want to say bye. She's just looking at me going, "What are you doing?" No, Amina,
no corgi. Oh,
here we go.
You got corgi. Beautiful. I love it. Great way to say goodbye. Awesome. That was Gordon S. Foxwood, the writer and director of Wild and Wicked, which is coming to digital and on demand on June 11, 2024. It is a fresh, interesting mix of a couple different genres, like a fairy tale fantasy genre, horror, and family drama, all merged into this very fun and emotional film that was filmed on Gordon's family farm. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.